Welcome in. Thanks for joining us. This is episode 21 of Streets and Eats. Today we're presenting amazing places to go in Czech Republic. When we lived in Germany last, we were right on the border of the Czech Republic, and we would try to get into the country as often as we could. It was just that much different than Germany. Things were a little bit cheaper, and it was just a new experience in getting away from where we were at. And we really loved it. And we've got a pretty good list of really important things to do that we think everyone who goes to the Czech Republic should definitely know about.
So welcome to Streets and Eats, the podcast where we want to inspire your next trip by telling you about some fantastic destinations and, of course, the best food to eat while you're there. Of course, right now, remember, until the world opens up completely and you feel safe to travel again, use this time and research and plan. That's what we're here for. We'll tell you this week all about Czech Republic.
Well, I can remember the first time that we went to Czech Republic together was right after it reopened. I think we've told this story before. We went on a trip with some friends, I think mainly for a Volksmarch somewhere, a walking activity.
A tour. It's like a hiking activity.
Yeah, a hiking activity that we used to do as a group, which is a lot of fun. And the Czech Republic, it was Czechoslovakia back then. It had just opened up, separated from the Eastern Bloc. They had gone through the Velvet Revolution in 1989. I think it must have been like 1990 that we went, maybe 91. But it was before the country had split into two countries, Czech Republic and Slovakia. So it was in that time frame. But we went in, and yeah, it was definitely different than Germany.
It was dismal.
It still had that Eastern Bloc feel, very dismal, gray colors, kind of a shabby feel in the buildings that hadn't really been maintained well.
Have you ever read the book The Giver? So in The Giver, there's two worlds. There's a world where it's all gray and it's just one color. It's just gray. And then he bursts through to the other side and there's all these colors.
Right. That's what it felt like.
And that's what it felt like with the opposite, coming from a colorful place and just sort of crossing the border. And all of a sudden everything is in muted grays and browns.
This is the first time we had Turkish coffee too. I remember that. What is this? But that's beside the point. Now,
if you want to hear that story, you need to
go back and listen to our evolutions of travel.
That's right.
That's a fun story. But today, the Czech Republic is a vibrant, colorful, beautiful country to visit.
Extremely vibrant. And I would say that Prague is well known to tourists around the world. If you go to Prague today, when we went to Prague the first time, there were a few people on the Charles Bridge. I mean, but you could see the cobblestones. You could see from one statue to the next with no problem. But nowadays, you go to the Charles Bridge, and especially during any daylight hour, you cannot see more than the head in front of you.
Yeah, it can get pretty crowded. Prague is on everybody's list, and for good reason.
Yeah, I would say Prague is the new, Paris? Not quite, because everybody still wants to go to Paris.
Yeah.
But it's way up there on everybody's list. And don't get me wrong, it should be.
For good reason.
Yeah, it really should be.
The spires and the architecture is incredible. The Charles Bridge is incredible, of course. Czech food is delicious, and Czech beer is even better. So everybody needs to go to Prague.
You can really get a nice taste of visiting Czech Republic by going to Prague. But I have this thing about people who really only go to the capital city.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know how they always say, what is the saying?
The one saying that I always use kind of relates to Turkey. Go to Istanbul, see Istanbul, but then go see Turkey. And It's kind of the same way. Go to Prague, see Prague. It's a beautiful city, and it is very Czech, so you will know you're in the Czech Republic there. But then get out of the city. Go see the country. It's a beautiful country. You know, touring the country is a little more difficult than some other European countries, but it's still quite doable. I think car is the easiest way to get around. You can get around by train and bus, of course. It's
But
a
boy, is that
pretty good
slow.
option, but it's slow. And there is still some language barrier. You won't find as much English help. And I don't know about you, but my Czech never really got very good. It's kind of a hard language for me to pronounce, at least.
It's a very difficult language. And I remember friends of ours that came to visit. We dropped them off at the train station, not in Prague, outside the city. In Prague, I don't think you would have the problem as much. But the person behind the counter did not speak English. So we had to speak German to find out where they were going and how much it was going to cost. And we were on the German border. So of course they spoke German. It wasn't a problem, and it wasn't a problem for me either, but
luckily we had that common language.
Yeah, exactly.
So
otherwise,
it can be a lot harder.
Yeah.
Than some countries.
It feels like traveling when you're in the Czech Republic, because even in Prague, it feels like traveling. It's still, I would say, all those countries that were behind the Iron Curtain, even though it's been a good 20 years since the wall has fallen, it's still, you can see a difference. You can feel a difference. And I think it's an amazing difference. I think it's fun to go to and fun to explore. And,
I was going to say, I really like it.
And we love it. And in fact, you will hear a lot about Eastern European countries that we have visited and really had a good time. But the Czech Republic really has a special place in our heart, as Jim was saying.
Yeah. But like I said, I really find car is the easiest way to get around. Now, we did live near the Czech border for a while, and so we could drive in. But it's a great place to go fly into Prague, do Prague for a few days. 2 or 3 days is pretty good. And then get a rental car and get out and see the countryside. It is just beautiful.
It's easy and it's small. It's pretty small. So the places in between are not that far, really.
Yeah. You can do a really good week-long trip, start in Prague, head west, and then go around the country to the east and then end up back in Prague. And we'll talk about some of those places. So I think some essential information to know about Czech Republic is that it is a member of the European Union. It's a member of NATO. But they never adopted the euro. So you're going to need to use Czech koruna while you're there. And I think the exchange rate right now is like about 20 to 1, 20 Czech koruna to $1 US. So plan accordingly. You can use a credit card pretty much throughout the country. However, there are still some very small towns and villages that you'll be traveling through where you will need cash. So you want to have some cash on you as well. For those of you looking for time out of the Schengen, I'm sorry, Czech Republic is part of the Schengen. Yeah. So it counts for your time in Europe.
Yeah.
And also right now with COVID-19, I think in late October, they changed the policy. Non-essential travel is allowed into the country, but you need to be vaccinated and can prove that you've been vaccinated 14 days prior, or take a COVID test when you enter or before you enter.
I think you're going to see that more and more, that you need to have your vaccination proof. So like a little COVID passport, because everybody's asking for it.
So you really want to check with the country you're going to. Everything I was looking at, I didn't find anything that said that you needed to have like an electronic passport. So your card should be okay. But things are changing rapidly for both the better and the worse. It just depends on what's happening in that country at that time. So as always, check constantly before you go. Even right up to the last minute, things could still change. Just be ready for it. But we really love that Bohemian countryside. Do you remember that trip?
Oh yeah. How can you? We did it at the perfect time, of course, too. We just happened to get lucky that I think it was October, the October holiday. So Columbus Day. If people, I know that's a sort of taboo subject, but we got that holiday off as government workers. So that made us a 3-day weekend. And we had some friends come up and did a road trip all through the Bohemian countryside. And we went to Telš and Budovice and Yeah, all over the place. It was just gorgeous.
The leaves were stunningly gold.
Yeah, they were just beautiful.
Crisp, clear air. And we still, you would go through some of these villages that had gone through some major restorations, like Telch, where the colorful old Renaissance buildings have been really nicely restored in the center of town. Beautiful colors, really ornate, Renaissance and Baroque, I guess. Really ornate decorations, just beautiful. But then you'll go through a town that's not been renovated and it's still in the condition that it was during the communist era. And you can see the destruction that was taking place throughout that time period and what people were living with at the time. So that's kind of interesting that you get both of those worlds as you're driving around.
We did have that road trip, and that road trip was a lot of fun. But my absolute favorite place to go is right across the German border. It was only 40 minutes from our home, and it was called Pilsen. And Pilsen may not be popular to most of the world at first thought, but guess what? It has something. It changed the world. Pilsen did.
Changed the world.
Because if you like a good Pilsen beer, that's where it originated. And the original factory is still there. You can take a tour through it. And in the, first of all, as you're going through this old building, you know it's old. And then in the basement, they have the old vats, and they still, ferment the beer in the vats. And they'll pour you a beer directly from the vats. It is such a cool experience.
It's a very cool brewery. And yeah, they make the claim of having the first recipe for the Pilsen type beer, which became world famous. And it is a delicious beer. And yeah, you go through the old brewery first, and they've got the copper vats from 100 years ago. They still make beer in those vats, and that beer goes into those wooden casks that are in the basement where they are held open, and you can go in and drink it right from the basement where it's kept at a nice temperature. It's very cold to just stand around.
Unfiltered.
And yeah, you get the unfiltered beer right there, and it's super delicious.
It's amazing.
So that definitely needs to be a stop. You also go through the new part of the brewery as well. So you get that whole, that factory feel, that mass production, because Pilsen is a very popular beer, not just in the Czech Republic, but throughout the world. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Mine too.
So you get to go back into the area where they're doing the bottling and the packaging and just see all that automation. So that's really cool too.
So what Pilsen started, maybe, I don't know, but not too long ago, they've decided to use beer in a different way in the Czech Republic as well. They started using them in baths. And so you can take a beer bath in Pilsen. And we used to go, our favorite place, and we did this pretty frequently, is we went to Perkminster, was the name of the restaurant /
brewery
beer bath. Do they have a brewery there?
Oh yeah, Perkminster is a brewery.
And and a brewery. I never put that together, but I should have. Their restaurant is so amazing. The food we had there, all Czech favorites. You would have Czech dumplings and beef or
jellied meat.
Jellied
was my
meat.
favorite, actually.
It really is. It was so good.
Delicious.
With horseradish. It had horseradish in it.
The bread dumplings, the goulash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have all the Czech favorites. It's also a nice, really good small boutique hotel. So you can go and spend the night in the boutique hotel. It's just outside of Pilsen. Have a good bath, spa, the whole 9 yards. Great meal. Of course, a couple of half liters of your favorite beer, whichever you happen to like, whether it's a Pils or a dark beer. I think they've got 3 different, maybe 4.
And I think they sell the unfiltered
brews
separately too.
Yeah.
So you're probably wondering, what is a beer spa? Well, we do have an article on our website, Reflections and Round, but just to give you a quick overview, basically they pour the beer mash.
Yeah, you're not actually sitting in beer.
Right. Into a wooden tub, and you sit in it for about half an hour. And the whole time you're there, you've got a whole keg of beer at your disposal.
That's right.
A whole keg. Now, I never got past one big goblet of it.
That is real beer.
It is real beer, and it'll get to you quickly. And so then you can drink as much beer as you want and lounge in the beer bath, and it does make your skin really, really soft.
Super soft. And it's hot, and it's comfortable, and it was one of the things that we would do after a long flight coming home or from somewhere overseas.
Or if someone came to visit.
Yeah, or someone came to visit, that would be one of the first places that we took them because, like we said in our last episode on Japan, a hot bath, soaking in the water is just a great way to relieve that jet lag.
It is, absolutely.
And the beer was great too.
So one time, just as a quick little aside, speaking of that, my daughter brought her brand new husband, who we hadn't met, to visit us in Germany. And it was jet lag, and we're going to take them to Pilsen because that's what we do. And what an introduction to our family. The first thing this poor young man does is gets naked with his in-laws because the way they have the tubs there, they you can have a single one by yourself and you can have double ones, so it's you and your significant other, and then they just have moving doors in between them. So
that's right.
So Devin said, well, I'm here to be with you guys. I don't mind if it's open. We're like, just get in the tub, Marcus, and we won't see anything anyway. It's not a big deal. So that's what we did. But I mean, poor guy, you've got to feel for our daughters' husbands. They put up with us.
Yeah.
Doing weird stuff.
It was a great time.
It was a great time. I mean, he said he loved it. I'm sure he did. You're going to love it.
And even if you don't drink beer, which to me seems really strange, but that's okay.
A lot of people don't drink beer.
The baths themselves are just very calming, relaxing, and really good for your skin.
Yeah, it's just wonderful. Like I said, we did it a lot. So that's our favorite place in Czech. We didn't do a top 5 for Czech because
it's hard to get it down to 5.
Well, not just that, but I think that it's just such a small country. I mean, it's not like Spain or France. You don't need
to limit yourself to 5. You can easily get to all these places that we're talking about in a 1-week trip or a 10-day trip.
Yeah. One of the places that I think a lot of people, if they know anything outside of Prague, they know about this place. It's called Kutná Hora, and it's a World Heritage Site, and the whole little town is. And they have a famous church there where it's called the Bone Church. And we took the girls there. I don't know who all was with us, but at least the girls were with us. And it's kind of an interesting place. They have thousands and thousands of bones that they've decorated on the walls. They've made into chandeliers. And basically it's because it became such a famous church that they had too many people. They didn't have enough room in the cemetery to bury them all. And after coming up with all these different ways to do it, they still had bones piling up. And so they had to figure out what to do with it. So now it's well known and it's a popular tourist attraction. And I have to say, it was pretty interesting. It was cool to go to.
Yeah.
It was well worth it. And it's only an hour outside of Prague. So I think a lot more people do that one. There's definitely a lot of tours to it, like with, Get Your Guide or whatever, than there are with, other places maybe that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So that Sedlec Church is a 12th century church. And really where it got its fame was one of the abbot of the abbey, I guess, was sent on a diplomatic mission to Jerusalem. And while he was there, he scooped up some dirt from the Holy Land and brought it back and sprinkled it around the monastery. And so after that, everybody wanted to be buried there. So then they ran into the problem with, well, what do we do with all these bones? It's pretty cool. And the town itself is a great old town. It's got a medieval center, really beautiful, and a great place to get good food. Yeah, we just love it there too. After that, speaking of baths and water, another great place that we love is Karlovy Vary. Now, Karlovy Vary is a spring town.
For a whole different reason.
But it's not a hot spring town where you're going to go and sit in the hot springs. This is a place where you go to
drink the water.
Take the waters, as they say. And you drink the water that's coming out of the springs. And I think it takes kind of maybe an acquired taste.
Well, it doesn't taste
mineral
good.
Water, but it's very good for your body. for your stomach, for your skin. So it's a very popular place to go. And it has really grown up as a destination really for hundreds of years. And so it's popular. It's been popular with, kings and queens and actors and actresses. And
yeah. So before the Soviet Union, I mean, it was popular as a tourist site then, like Jim said, for all these highfalutin people from Victorian times and up. But then the Soviet Union comes along and you think, well, they didn't do that kind of thing. No, it was still a huge tourist town. People from all over the Soviet Union would go there. So it's never really changed. It's always been a tourist town for hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's a pretty beautiful, I mean, it's just a gorgeous town. The architecture is stunning.
Yeah. Really ornate woodwork around the springs themselves. The hotels are all kind of packed down into the spring area as well in a little valley. And it's just a beautiful place, and it's very relaxing and calming. And you go to the first spring near your hotel. It doesn't really matter where you start. And you buy a little porcelain sipping cup and you just make your way from spring to spring. I think it's about a 2-kilometer route that you're going to walk, and you're going to see the whole town that way. And you're going to try the spring water and just have a great time.
And one of the things they sell there, like the biggest souvenir, is what do you call it? Like a mug or something?
Mm-hmm. The little sipping cups.
Yeah. It looks like a flat ceramic, a smushed ceramic mug with a built-in straw, but it's not inside the mug. It's like kind of outside. It kind of looks like a weird shaped pipe almost.
Yeah, exactly.
And, so you buy one of those and then you dip it into each of the springs, and all the springs have different minerals. So you have to go to all of them to get all the health benefits.
That's right.
So you use your cup quite a bit, and they're really beautiful. I mean, they're a great souvenir because they're very ornate.
Unique. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a great town. And really, I know tons of people that go there just to eat, because the Czech Republic is so much cheaper than Germany that a lot of our friends, and us included, would go there, take a weekend, go to, a spa and get massages and have fantastic dinners for a fraction of the cost that we would pay on a normal basis.
Right. Even cheaper than in Prague.
Yeah, definitely cheaper than in Prague.
Prague is cheaper than a lot of places in Europe as well. So yeah, it was a great place to go. We also went to our first beer bath there.
We did. That was a little bit less.
Well, it was
modern.
Yeah.
Less modern than the one in Perkmister.
Yeah.
But we still enjoyed it, or else we would have probably never got back, I guess, right?
Right. Well, it was a little bit stressful because we were running late and we had a specific time that we had to be there, that we were reserved for. We actually ended up being about a half hour late. They didn't want to let us go, even though we were booked for a 1-hour slot. They didn't want to let us go because we weren't going to get the full hour experience. But we convinced them that, it's okay. We don't need the full hour of beer bathing or drinking the beer. A half hour will be fine. And it was more than fine. It was very relaxing. And I think that one was Pilsen beer, not Perkmister. So it's a little bit different.
Well, because Pilsen is just one of the most popular beers in the whole country, if it's not the most popular beer.
Right.
Yeah. So Karlovy Vary, probably not on a lot of people's lists, but look it up. It's a great place to go. We have a great article on our website again about it. And I mean, you can easily I wouldn't go there and not spend the night, because part of the attraction is the beautiful town itself and the hotels and getting a good meal and just sort of really, really relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Doing that.
I think it was in a movie.
Experience.
What was the movie that they always talk about with what's her name?
You're so helpful with your clues.
I have to look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. Anyway, go to Karlovy Vary as well. Another place that we really enjoyed was Brno.
Yeah.
We did a weekend, just the two of us, and it was in the winter. We went to Brno, and then we went to a couple of castles, and the castles are closed in the winter from October to April. They're closed. So we end up not being able to go inside, and we were a upset about that. But we really enjoyed our time in Brno. It's the second largest city in the Czech Republic. But yet nobody really ever goes there. I mean, it's a university town, but I don't think it's on anybody's tourist trail.
Right. But it's a large city. It's the second largest city in the Czech Republic. But because it's not on the tourist trail as much,
I think you get a real feel for the country.
You really do. It's a much more local feel, I guess. And things are cheaper again as well. And they
have the second biggest brewery of popular beers, and that's the Staral Brno.
Yeah.
And you can find that beer all over the country as well. And we, of course, had to go there and check it out because that's the kind of people we are.
And that's the first place that I had brewer's soup, which is really just maybe a heartier sauerkraut soup, which is a Czech specialty. And it's just a really delicious brothy soup that's got sauerkraut in it and meat.
It doesn't sound like it would be good because really sauerkraut, but it is super delicious. Yummy. And in the winter, so good.
And a good beer and some thick pull apart dark brown bread that just is delicious. Dip it in, eat it down, drink some beer. Love it.
Another really big site in Brno is the Villa Tugendhat, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And when you first drive up to it, you're looking at it going, it just looks like a house. And it really is just a house. But it has all this modern furniture, and it's just a really good example of pre-war Europe and modern architecture. So it's just a cool place to go. We were glad that we went there. But again, like I said, I don't think it's really on anybody's big list or anything. But it's well worth going to.
Yeah.
Now, getting into the Czech Republic, the other thing that you might want to do is find some festivals. One of the festivals we went to was absolutely the most exciting festival. I don't know. This is one of the coolest festivals we've ever run across.
Most definitely.
It was in this town called Vilžnov. I don't even know if I'm saying that right because it's VLCNOV, right? I mean, how do you say that? Vilžnov. And it was called the Ride of the Kings. Well, that sounds fun, right? And you get there and the town's all decked out, and there's horses with beautiful decorations all over them with paper flowers and stuff. They have a big parade. They have dances, folk dances. I mean, you spend the whole day really delving into that folklore.
Right.
But the king, the whole story is about a king, and he's trying to escape invaders, so he has to dress up like a girl.
He was a young king.
He was a young king. Yeah, he was a young boy, a child king. And he has to dress up like a girl to escape. We spent a couple of days there, and the parade takes up the whole day, that and the dancing. And it was just so much fun to have a whole day of, delving into the folklore of the whole area.
Right.
It was just beautiful.
The folk dancing takes place all day long at one of the stages in the center of town. Different troops coming from the countryside all around, and they've all got their different traditional costume outfits from their area. And so you really get a good taste of that. And it just goes on, like I said, all day long.
It was wonderful.
And the actual Ride of the King happens during the parade. But before that, the guards, the king's guard, are riding around on horses. And the tradition is that they ride through the town and they repeat poetry to people. And when they repeat poetry to them, you're supposed to give them an offering, a little tip.
A coin.
And it's kind of strange when this king's guard rides up to you. He's not in armor or anything.
He's on a horse. I mean, that's kind of scary.
He is on a massive horse. It's super colorfully decorated. He's got the traditional king's guard outfit on, and they're very serious about it. And they almost shout the poetry at you, like they're yelling at you to go away or do something, or you've done something wrong. But no, it's really just lines of poetry. It's quite an experience.
It was fun. It was so much fun. And I don't think there were any other Americans in the entire crowd. There were other foreign tourists. There were some Germans, some Italians. I don't know who else, but I didn't see any other English speakers in the entire crowd. We were it. It was, if it's one of those things that if you get a chance to do, I highly recommend it. You have to be there. I think was it the first weekend in May? When was it?
Yeah, the last Sunday in May.
Oh, the last Sunday in May.
Yeah, so the end
it
of
was
May.
really cool. And that was probably one of the most cultural things that we've ever done in the Czech, other than, drink beer.
Yeah. And sit in a bath.
And sit in bathtubs.
But Prague also has a great Christmas market.
Yes.
So if you're there during the winter season, it is, I think, one of the better ones in all of Europe.
I think if you're going to go to the Czech Republic in winter, you can easily do, like, if you're going to do a Christmas market kind of thing, you can do Germany and Czech together.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Bavaria and Czech work really good. Or if you're in the northeast, that part of Germany and the Czech Republic works really good. Yeah, I really love the Czech Republic.
We do. And some of the food that we love to eat there, we mentioned them a little bit, but there's Czech dumplings, and then they have these, what they call sheep's dumplings, that are like a dessert. And so the bread dumplings are huge, but the sheep dumplings are small.
Yeah.
They have like, what do you call those little black seeds? Poppy seeds on them.
Mm-hmm.
And of course with fruit. They have, the beers are amazing, like we've mentioned. What else do we eat there? There's so many good foods. I mean, the chickens are great, the way they roast their chicken.
Oh yeah. And the pastries on the trottel, what's that called? The trottel?
Oh yeah. They wrap it
dumplings.
They wrap the pastry on the big stick and then they grill it. It's
they roll it over coals so it browns evenly all the way through. It's not baked. It's cooked over a bed of coals.
And then they put, toppings on it if you want, like sugar or chocolate or sprinkles. A trittleneck.
Trittleneck, that's what it's called.
What else have we eaten there that's so good? I mean, we just used to love to go there just to have any kind of food because
they do have great roast beef with cream sauce and the bread dumplings. That's probably my favorite meal.
And I love their cheeses. We used to try all their different cheeses that were so good too.
Okay, so when's the best time to go to the Czech Republic?
Well, the Czech Republic, any other time, in the winter is dreary. It can be very dreary and dark, and it sort of brings out that dismalness that we were talking about.
Outside of the Christmas markets feelings that you get in those areas, it can definitely be really dreary.
I personally think late spring and summer is a beautiful time to go. If I were planning just a trip to the Czech Republic, I would make sure to go to the Ride of the King. So I would start it,
late May.
Yeah, late
early
May.
June.
And I mean, the weather is perfect. Everything's green. The sunflowers, not sunflowers, but all the flowers are out, and it's just beautiful. And you're kind of on a shoulder season, so you're not really hitting the brunt of the tourists yet. A lot of the river cruises will go through. We'll at least have excursions to Prague. So if you're into river cruising, maybe you can look that up as well.
The Danube river cruises almost always have an excursion to Prague. So that's a good way to go as well. And that's kind of one of the reasons why Prague does get a little bit more crowded, I guess.
But we love Prague. I think we've been, 50 times. I couldn't tell you how many times, just so many. And there's always something to do there. We'll do a whole podcast on what to do in Prague because it deserves it.
Yeah.
But I guess the purpose of this particular episode is Prague isn't the only thing to do in the Czech Republic. Far from it. And even though tourists don't do a whole lot in other parts of the country, it has a lot on offer. There's beautiful castles everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Český Krumlov is a well-known town. It has a huge castle. It is more touristy, but it's still well worth the time, to go there. There's really a lot to do and see in this little country.
That's right.
If you haven't thought about going there, maybe look it up and do a little research. It's really, really a beautiful place, and the people are friendly and they'll help you out. We've met them all over the world. They love to travel, and that always, makes my heart sing.
Yes.
So,
okay. Thanks for listening to this episode of Streets and Eats. For more information on this topic, you can definitely visit Reflections en Route or Roving Veils. We'll put the links to any of the articles that we've mentioned in the show notes.
And a few more.
And
join our private Facebook page at Streets and Eats. And, tell us what you think. And would you go back again? What are some tips? What was your favorite thing to eat? Please, we would love that.
Thanks for joining us, and ciao
for now.